Right off the bat, I was feeling Mario Odyssey. The opening cutscene takes maybe 30 seconds and then you're in the game. It's just refreshing. Nintendo knows exactly where they need to focus their attention, and there's almost zero delay to giving people exactly what they want. Nintendo has never been one to dilly-dally over an over-complex story, and Mario specifically has been pretty good at giving the player control as fast as possible.
Dear Mario, please come to the castle. I have baked a cake batter.
Mario's movement felt great. I know Nintendo spends a huge amount of time making sure that Mario's pace, jumping height, acceleration are all perfect, so this category is kind of a given, but it's still worth mentioning because Mario is a 3D platformer at its core, and the game needed to have its movement down before the rest of the game could be enjoyed. Being on the Nintendo Switch, there are some motion controls that need to be covered. I'm gonna go ahead and say right now, not a big fan of motion controls, and I thought it was a very poor choice to have a majority of your attacks be based on flicking and turning of the Joy-Cons, but I submit that for motion control's poor track record, Mario Odyssey does a pretty good job with accuracy. 99% of the time, I was successfully able to execute the correct attack. I still would have preferred if combat didn't rely on motion, but it was in no way overbearing or frustrating. Mario games look great, plain and simple. They're colorful, vibrant, expressive, each character's face is filled with emotion, everyone has something to say, and although character depth isn't Mario's strongest suit, it does give some layering to the game when the characters aren't just sitting around silently. There are also some incredible details put into the game that I was shocked to see. For example, there are hundreds of combinations of costumes Mario can wear, but what's really cool is that whatever you're wearing stays constant through your attacks in two-dimensional portions. What I mean by that is, when you throw your hat, it doesn't automatically default to Mario's red hat. It's been meticulously designed over and over to look like the specific hat you're wearing. More incredibly though, the consistency of outfits from 3D to 2D blew me away. I was very surprised that they created 2D sprites for every piece of clothing. There were a couple details and characters that did feel out of place though. For example, the dinosaur that was in the trailer. He's extremely detailed in comparison to his environment, and it was especially jarring since dinosaurs already exist in the Mario universe. I consider pace to be a pretty important part to a game. It sets the tone, the rhythm, casts some mood for slower scenes and faster scenes. Mario felt like a fast game to me. I beat it in 11 hours, which means that on average, I spent less than an hour in each world before completing the main campaign. After seeing the credits roll, I didn't play the game for 2 days while I was working on this review, and then casually I picked it up during a break, and this was easily the best thing I could have done to convince myself that this game was above average. On your first visit to each world, it feels like the game doesn't fully reveal itself. Some worlds like the Sand Kingdoms are massive, but there's almost zero incentive to wander outside of the main missions. Another instance to wasted potential is that certain characters you can possess may only be applicable to a single instance and then forgotten about for the rest of the game. Upon completion, the game felt like a lot of wasted potential between relevant characters to be possessed and these massive landscapes. And then I did decide to revisit the world, and let me tell you friends, it was magical. There's a monstrous amount of post-game moons to collect, and there's a reason to explore every inch and every area as well as possess characters more often. Continuing to play past the main campaign was easily the best part of Mario Odyssey. This game has an absurd amount of post-game content. For example, the minimum amount of moons that you need to complete this game is 124. And although I've seen various different numbers, it's safe to say that there's at least 850 total moons in the entire game.
やっぱりね、達成感だと思うんですね。で、達成感にはいろんなことがあると思うんですけど、一つはクリアするっていうボスを倒すとかゴールに行くという達成感もあるんですけども。
That was Shigeru Miyamoto, the creator of Mario, describing what he felt was most important in a video game, a sense of accomplishment. Throughout Mario's lifespan, a challenge has always been an important role since his first appearance in the Donkey Kong arcade machine. Like Miyamoto described, accomplishment gives you satisfaction, and satisfaction is the main reason why we created video games. Whether it's horror, adventure, action, or puzzle games, our satisfaction comes from a sense of accomplishing a goal of some sort. Going off of that, difficulty is completely subjective, and my skill level will differ from almost everyone else's, but I still think it's important, because there are games that do rely on a challenge. Dark Souls, Donkey Kong Country, and obviously previous Mario games all rely on challenges. You may not have the same experience as I did, but I found Mario Odyssey to be fairly easygoing until beating the main story, which admittedly did take away from how invested I did feel in the game, and consequently might have sparked my initial issues about the pacing. To follow that up though, much of the post-story content is challenging, and I personally felt that everything post-game felt superior to the main story. All in all, I really enjoyed Mario Odyssey. It was a great game and it was an absolute blast to play. For the most part, the controls were tight, the aesthetics were consistent, and the focus was clear. I would have liked to see a bit more of a challenge before reaching the story's conclusion, as well as more versatility with each character I could possess, but making the effort to return to each world is definitely worth your investment. Either way, it's very easy to see that this game goes above and beyond expectations. I would happily pick it up again.